Welcome back, guys, to another episode of me interviewing inanimate objects. I'd like to give an update on Oddball here. I also want to give credit to my wife, my partner, for doing all of these videos because she likes to do it apparently, and that's amazing because I don't like doing the computer parts. So let's just make sure to give her all the credit. I don't want to take away from that. But also, back to the updates. I don't really have any updates, which is pretty cool. It's been running fantastic. I've been just riding it to work. I've been riding it around. It's now that we've got it together, ever since that trip from the East Coast, it kind of worked everything out. You could tell, I got better fuel mileage as it got, as the trip went on. I've got, it ran smoother. The transmission was real tight when Jamie put it back together. And so right about home, it started to get to right where it needs to be. He said it'd take a few thousand miles, and that's about what it did. I figured, let's just break it across country, But yeah, other than that, it's just been doing a good job. I don't have, any, bad things to really say about it. This bike, and I'm pretty sure I talked about this before, but this bike, this one was a little mistreated. And I'm not going to say mistreated because the guy was doing his best. When Excelsior-Henderson, so I've been told, when Excelsior-Henderson, first kind of left, there's a lot of people out there that just kind of, we're left without a dealer network. We're left without anyone to call. So they just kind of had to try to figure it out. And when you look at the amount of people that were trying, which was every one of them, and how few of them really succeeded, it kind of gives you a glimpse into how hard this was. And it's kind of one of those things where, heroes are made, right? And that's the way it was. It was, there was a few people out there that really figured it out. And not saying everybody else didn't figure it out or what they did didn't matter. It's just that, there's a couple people that really grabbed a hold of it. And I think that's really cool. And I think that's one of the things I like most about this motorcycle is I love the people I meet really genuinely care about this motorcycle. And I think that's pretty cool because it's not just it's not the brand. I wouldn't say there's a big loyalty to the brand. It's more of it's loyal to this particular motorcycle and all 2,000 or whatever had been made. If all the labels were removed off this bike, the community would still exist. And I think that's really cool. And I'm trying to think of something I don't like about the bike, but there's nothing I don't like that's, not a thing you can't really bitch about. I don't like that all the fasteners were dipped in red Loctite. That's annoying. I'm not a big fan of the hex button, the hex head button fastener. They do look better, I get it, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. I'd like just a big bolt and grip onto. Um, let's see what else. One of the things that surprises me the most, I think, is how light the front end feels. It's not light, obviously, but it feels, after I spend a couple weeks off of this bike riding, something else that, some other monstrosity that I, am putting together, and I get back on it, it always surprises me how, and I don't want to use the word gentlemanly because it's not a gentleman's bike, but how composed, this bike really does feel for how heavy it is. Um, Again, you can't really complain about like it being heavy, especially around in town because that's not what the bike was built for, So um, it's one of those things where people bitch because they have a giant truck and they try to drive it downtown and they go, well, I can't find a parking space. Well, I mean, that's kind of your fault. You're going somewhere with something that wasn't designed to be there, And I do a lot of truck shit with Peanut because it's funny, but not because it's good at it. And I also drive a bunch of big shit downtown and park at places because it's funny, not because it's good at it. And I know that's my fault. Same with this bike. I ride it around town all the time, and it does fine. It's just a lot harder than the Allstate, which weighs 300 pounds. And and it's but whatever. And so I don't really have any complaints. It's been I've done a couple oil changes to it. I've the banjo bolt for the clutch. It's got these two washers that have rubber seals on the inside. One of those seals cracked after 20 some odd years. So I was getting a little leak. I did have to do that, but I don't, that's just maintenance. That's just old vehicle. The Allstate is leaking too, because you can't take an old, anything that old and those old seals. You know what I'm talking about. But now that we've got it, all together, we've got it fixed. It does a great job. I've been riding it to work. I'm about to ride it to the store, so I'm overall very pleased with it. I think the only thing I really want to talk about in this one, like that's weird, I guess, is that I get a lot of like, whenever you ride this somewhere, people will ask you questions because nobody knows what it is. I've run into one person who knew what it was. And his story was, I wanted to order one and I never got one, So, naturally, he's like, well, I never got to own one. So he doesn't have, the best opinion of it. But, so it's like, I get a lot of people going, well, why don't you just buy the thing that everybody else buys, right? And I get that a lot with a lot of the things I drive. I get a lot of, well, Toyotas don't break down or whatever. And I'm not going to shit on Toyotas. I have a Ford Focus I call Peanut that I love. I love Peanut. But it's a regular everyday car. It was built to be cheap and disposable and give good fuel mileage and be reliable and whatever. That's its sole purpose in life, and it does that. But it doesn't, it's got its purpose, but it's not to make you smile, right? It's not to bring that excess of joy. And so, I work on my shit a lot, except for this, apparently, the only reliable thing I own. But I work on my shit a lot because it brings not only me, just everybody around me, it brings them joy, Nobody comes and talks to me about Peanut. They treat me like shit on the road. They honk at me, and it's really funny, And my old cars, I can get away with murder. Nobody gives a shit. They're just like, well, good for you. Way to take that rusty piece of shit and cram it into, interstate traffic. But don't let that deter you. It's a real weird concept that the human race does, of this, like, well, you could have bought this. Yeah, but why? Why would I buy that? Why? And so that's what I get a lot with this and with a lot of other things, is that. And I just want to make sure people are out there, and I know you aren't, because you have a mild, you typed something in that brought this to your view. So I mean, but there's a lot of people out there that have that, and you got to really kind of battle through it sometimes, and just don't get discouraged. Ride the weird shit, drive the weird shit. It's more fun that way. Breaking down isn't that big of a deal anymore. I do it all the time. AAA is the shit. Cell phones are awesome. I was doing this, not to sound old, but I was doing this when you had to walk. So, I mean, now it's just easy. Breaking down, no sweat. But yeah, let's stop talking about it. And I'm going to go for a little bit of a ride today. But let's do a video of some cool rides. Let's go for a ride. It's December, and I live in a place that's 70 degrees right now. So let's go for a ride.